It was a gloomy spring day, much like today, when I decided that I wanted to homestead. I didn't grow up with parents who homesteaded, and their parents weren't avid farmers or gardeners either, so I had no point of reference for what this decision really meant. All I knew is that when I looked out at the fields and forest, I saw myself there, intermingling with the seasons. I wanted a grounded, quieter life at a slow but deliberate pace, something much different from what I had experienced in my young adulthood, and so I began to build an image in my head of what it would mean to be self-sufficient, and what kind of business I could create from a relatively small garden. Of course, not everything I had envisioned in my head has panned out the way that I planned, and I wanted to share with you how these last 3 years of working towards the goal of self-sufficiency has changed my perspective on homesteading. The very first lesson that I learned is that a productive garden takes a long time to establish. Sometimes a few years, sometimes even longer. When I began, I envisioned starting an herb garden where I could make my own tea blends and sell them. I shared this plan with family and friends, and when the first growing season came and went, I got a lot of questions about when I was going to be selling these teas. The reality was that very first year, I didn't even grow enough for my own use. I've recognized now that I must be more deliberate in planning ahead, as many of the herbs that I plan to grow take multiple years to establish before they can be harvested. My second lesson was in learning that most modern homes were not designed with homesteading in mind, and neither was mine. Many homes nowadays don't include root cellars, large pantries, or mudrooms, and I found that there was nowhere that I could properly store our food. There is also a significant amount of specialized equipment needed to be self-sufficient in many areas. Some of these things are only needed seasonally, but they need a home when they're not in use. Christopher and I have been working to correct this in our home, but it doesn't come without a great deal of effort and expense. When I was single, dreaming of homesteading, I imagined myself doing this in a tiny home. Now I can hardly imagine where I would fit everything. If you are a tiny house homesteader, you'll have to let me know how you manage. I also want to mention how extremely grateful I am to be married to someone who has skills in carpentry. We simply could not afford to pay someone else to do this necessary work, and while I can do many things, I am not a skilled builder. We work together to complement each other's strengths and can get more done because of our partnership. Which brings me to my third lesson, which is that I can't do it all on my own. I can grow a garden and put up food. I'm capable of washing and drying clothes by hand. I can tap maple trees and make my own sugar and sap all by myself. But when it comes to the other myriad of tasks, there simply is not enough time in a day to do it all. It's been the hardest lesson, not only accepting that I am limited by my physical capabilities, but also just by time. I wanted to make everything on my own, from dairy to meat to veggies and grains. But as the saying goes, to be a jack of all trades is to be a master of none. So I've decided to put most of my energy and focus into building a commercial garden for selling medicinal herbs and strive to produce at least most of our own produce. Accepting this has opened me up to the possibilities that community offers.
I don't wanna waste it on anybody. Take it with anybody but you. I don't wanna waste it on anybody. Make it with anybody but you.
Welcome to what will be the new pantry space. So as you can see, it's not done yet. We are hoping to finish it this weekend, and in a future video I will show you the full before and after, but it is still very much in progress. All of the stuff that is normally in here is spread all throughout the house, so I'm looking forward to getting my house back in order. So I hope this video today didn't discourage you if you are interested in homesteading and anything I've shared is not what you imagined it would be. I know for me, because I came from a family that had zero generational experience in homesteading, all of my expectations and everything that I envisioned homesteading would be was based off of my own imagination and things that I saw on social media or on television, which obviously is not a realistic perspective of what homesteading actually is. So I definitely had my own rose-colored glasses on. A homestead is definitely not something that you can just create overnight. You can definitely have the idea to homestead and decide to set yourself on that path overnight, but the amount of time and expense that it takes to build the infrastructure around you that allows you to be self-sufficient is just immense. Unless you come from a lot of money where you can, you know, spend $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 in a single year, depending on how large of a homestead you're trying to create and whether or not you're trying to make that homestead profitable. And I think a lot of us don't go into this lifestyle with lots of money lying around. I know for me, I became very interested in homesteading when I was dealing with a lot of insecurity during the pandemic, wondering if I was going to be able to keep my job and whether or not I would be able to feed myself and pay my bills. And it made me realize that I needed to find ways to be more self-sufficient and learn some valuable, marketable skills. And I chose for myself, I was going to garden and try to produce as much of my own produce as possible to save us money at the grocery store, as well as start my herb garden business. But of course, there's lots of other reasons people get into homesteading. Another reason I'm interested in homesteading is simply for the lifestyle. It seems more healthy. I get to be out in nature. I get to spend time with animals, and those are all things that I love doing in my free time anyway. So why not learn to be more self-sufficient and potentially make money doing it? So what are your reasons for being interested in the homesteading lifestyle? Are you already doing it? Are you just starting? Or are you just in the process of researching what it would mean to homestead? I'd love to hear about it. Also, if you are somebody who is doing the tiny house homestead lifestyle, I would love to hear more about that. I've got some questions, especially about storage, and I'd just like to hear what are the unique challenges of doing a tiny living homestead lifestyle. As always, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button down below and subscribe to the channel. My name is Danae with the Acadian Garden and Apothecary. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.